Thank you for joining Spinnaker.Live today. We hope that you enjoy the main stage presentations and also hope that you enjoy our breakout session today, where we'll be talking about how Spinnaker is shaping delivery excellence at SAP. And also just one important housekeeping note before we begin. If you have any questions, feel free to post them to the chat where we'll be responding throughout the session. So let's get the introductions out of the way. My name is Jessie, and I'm currently interning at SAP as a user assistance developer, where I work with Serge in site reliability engineering. I write articles about tech, I organize documentation, work on design projects, as well as support the head of SRE, which is very cool. And also, I do freelance work on the side where I help startups tell their brand stories.
Hello, I'm Serge. I'm part of the Delivery and Operation Excellence team in the SRE unit, and I work with Jessie on Spinnaker's adoption within the team. And our team provides DevOps tools, automation services, guidance, and consulting for SRE best practices. Outside of work, I contribute to software development projects that can solve social challenges, and I also help my community. I'll tell you a bit more about our journey to CI/CD and how we came to adopt Spinnaker. So a couple of years ago, we were tasked to build a standard blueprint for delivery. The goal was to simplify and speed up our delivery process, make sure that we are efficient, and consolidate all our tooling. So our team, which is the SRE team, became a global team with multiple peers working on several continents. And we put together a new unit called Delivery and Operation Excellence, which I'm part of, which used to work on standards and processes for the commerce platforms. So with the experience that that team had working on standardization, we started working on the CI/CD pipeline blueprint, went through several rounds of assessing solutions via proof of concepts. And when we started working with Spinnaker, the comparison between Spinnaker and those solutions was we decided to use it because it was outperforming them all. And we continued that journey on the highway to heaven from that point. So now let Jessie tell you more about the benefits of using Spinnaker.
Yeah, so you might be wondering, why did we choose Spinnaker? And I will tell you in 6 main reasons. So firstly, it's cloud native, which means 3 great things. It's available, it's scalable, and reliable. So mainly because it runs on Kubernetes. So you can apply Kubernetes best practices. If you want to scale up Spinnaker, it's easy because that's literally what Kubernetes is designed to do, scale. And also because Spinnaker is a set of microservices. So each of those microservices can be scaled independently and without interfering each other. They're self-healing, which means that if something goes wrong in one of the clusters, Kubernetes can probe the health in one of the pods and restart them if needed. And also, we use Dynatrace as a monitoring solution, and it can catch the issues happening in real time. So it can notify the teams on Slack and make sure that it doesn't affect the service or impact the customers, which is our main goal in SRE. Also, pipeline flexibility. So we can create pipelines. Of course, we can create pipelines in Spinnaker. We can create templates in Spinnaker. So you can define templates for the pipelines and distribute them to different teams, which is a huge focus for us here in SRE. And our templates help teams create pipelines without the need to start from scratch. So the key benefit here is that they're reusable. We store our pipelines in GitHub. So we have an automation that can read the pipeline code, and it calls the Spinnaker API, which creates the pipelines on Spinnaker. The added value here is that the teams can manage their pipelines along with our product using the same development process. So if you're making a change in the product, it can be reflected in the pipeline as well through a single commit in your Git repository. And also, you can isolate your users. So each client has their own space to manage their pipelines. And we don't have to maintain multiple instances of Spinnaker, just one is enough. It's also easy to operate, so it comes with an API and a CLI. The API allows us to speak to Spinnaker from other systems, and the CLI is useful when it comes to just automating and managing Spinnaker. Another great thing is it's secure, so it supports authentication and authorization, and it can integrate very well with popular security providers that we use internally at SAP. And that actually flows nicely into the next one, which is highly integratable. So it integrates with third-party tools, tools like Jenkins, Artifactory, Helm, to name very popular few, as well as Slack. So it integrates seamlessly with Slack, which helps with team collaboration, which is another important thing for us, and I imagine every company out there. And lastly, extensibility. So obviously we want to extend to third-party tools because we want to support multiple scenarios and workflows. But the cool thing about Spinnaker is that we can create custom pipeline stages. So stages that are not coming out of the box with Spinnaker. A good example is what we've done with Vault, another great security tool. And as you might have guessed right now, we're pretty big on security at SAP. But yeah, so we built pipeline stages so that we can integrate Spinnaker deployment with an in-house Vault solution, and it was very easy to do. So those were just a few main reasons why we went with Spinnaker in the first place. But I'll let Serge tell you how we leverage Spinnaker in SRE.
What our team has done is running Spinnaker on Kubernetes. We have two Spinnaker landscapes, one for development purposes. We use it to test the new releases of Spinnaker. We also use it to test features, or sometimes to design complex pipelines and that we just want to assess before we start using them in production. And our production landscape is used by product delivery teams to push their products to the cloud. So we store the Spinnaker early out configuration in a Git repository. It allows us to centralize the management of Spinnaker and also have multiple contributors working on the configuration. And every time they make changes to the landscapes, we have an automation that runs and reconfigure Spinnaker automatically for us. This also allows us to deploy a standard Spinnaker setup on any Kubernetes cluster. It helps making our implementation resilient, and we can recover it in case a disaster happens. All of our Spinnaker pipelines are triggered by Jenkins. We use the Spinnaker API, and only a few projects rely on automated triggers. This comes from the historical fact that Jenkins runs almost all the CI stages for the pipelines, including security scans, and we trigger Spinnaker only when a build has met all the criteria to be met, has met all the criteria to be promoted to production. Spinnaker is also monitored using Grafana, Prometheus, and Dynatrace, and we leverage Elk for login purposes and to audit the platform. We are constantly reviewing the architecture. It became one of the favorite platforms in the team, and we are able to serve multiple customers. So one of the main way our teams are leveraging Spinnaker during projects is when they embed in development teams. So they work with development teams from the early beginning to contribute to cloud delivery. They use self-service APIs to register those projects and manage providers or artifacts accounts that are required for Spinnaker to operate. The API we built requires authentication and can enforce certain aspects of these configurations. For example, when an SRE wants to submit a Kubernetes cluster into the configuration, the API can actually assign the right permissions right away. The self-service API is also used to maintain the central management of Spinnaker in place, and we can easily have all the team contributing to the API or contributing to the management of Spinnaker using that process. After the teams have onboarded using the self-service API, the next step is usually to use the starter kits. So starter kits are based on the Spinnaker managed templates, and it's a way for us to leverage Spin CLI or area. These are two command lines that can interact with the Spinnaker API and are easy to use when you want to manipulate pipelines. So these starter kits are a way for us to reduce the learning curve, and it allows us to also enforce best practices in our deployments. So all these services and tools are constantly documented. The team can find useful guides and troubleshooting information in our runbooks. And we are always available to provide coaching to new colleagues. We help each other and we work on complex pipelines together. And we support the product development teams from the onboarding on Spinnaker throughout the life cycle of the products and services. So using all those tools, services, starter kits has been very important for us on our journey toward adopting Spinnaker. One of the main one of the strong focus of our team actually is starter kits. So starter kits, as we said, are an easy way for us to consume Spinnaker pipelines. The starter kit is composed of several parts. So file defining the Spinnaker application, directory containing Spinnaker pipeline templates, another one that also contains the pipeline configurations, and a file that specifies which which configuration should be merged in a template to render a pipeline. We orchestrate all that with a Jenkins file, which defines all the steps that the automation should take from the time the starter kit is pushed to a Git repository until it's actually deployed on the Spinnaker landscape. So this has helped team creating pipeline very easily, safely as well, and all our embedded SREs can package applications very quickly. So using all those tools, services, starter kits has made a major impact on our Spinnaker deployments. We are able to measure our performance metrics. So we currently have 155 users using Spinnaker in production. These users are spread across 16 development teams, and they're able to deploy to multiple cloud providers. So mainly SAP Cloud, AWS, Microsoft Azure, and GCP. A setup is used for several projects. And we have a lot of performance metrics that we are able to collect from these pipelines. We currently have a very complex project that has been running for the last year and has 14 microservices that are currently deployed with the same Spinnaker pipeline. And these microservices are deployed within 28 minutes from the time the developer pushed the source code to a Git repository until it reaches production. So all the benefits that Spinnaker brought has helped us scaling our pipeline executions. Over the last year, we ran over 44,000 pipelines. And the longest time that our pipeline executions can take is actually 37 minutes. Now I'll let Jessie tell you about what is coming next.
Yes, so actually, before we end off with the performance, we should definitely mention one of our success stories. We have quite a few success stories, but here's one that we can actually talk about since it just went live this month, which is SAP Cloud Extension Factory Kima Runtime, which is kind of a mouthful, but we call it SAP Kima Runtime or just Kima. And it's an open source project that offers customers and partners an environment that allows them to build extensions by using both microservices and serverless functions. And it also offers not only the possibility to extend one SAP solution, but it also allows combining existing IT solutions to create new capabilities. So Kima is pretty cool, and it's another example of how Spinnaker can quickly push products to the cloud, because it started in January, right? So that was just a few months back, and they built their first Spinnaker pipeline back in January within a week, which is very quick. And so they were pushing to the cloud very early on. Right now, it's running fully in production, and there's no issues with the pipeline. So it's extremely reliable thanks to Spinnaker. And yeah, so what's next? I'll let Serge tell you a little bit more about the technical improvements that we'd like to work on.
Yes, so we want to improve the current architecture. We want to enforce policies in our Spinnaker pipelines. We want also to manage our service mesh and be able to leverage canary analysis to improve performance. So we really believe that Spinnaker can bring all those technical improvements and that we can achieve them very quickly.
And also, we want to increase adoption. So we want to share articles about Spinnaker, and we want to share our love for it through the power of storytelling. So yes, so the articles, that means also writing friendly documentation so that others can quickly onboard to using the CRCIC-CD solution, as well as hosting internal events where we encourage others to adopt the platform. So that actually wraps up our session for today. We obviously encourage you to ask us questions, not only in the Q&A, but also to connect with us through Spinnaker Slack channel or LinkedIn. We're always available to connect. So we thank you very much for joining us today, and hope that you also enjoy the next breakout sessions as well.